Okay, so now there's 3 pictures up here that we're going to show, and they're all going to look sort of similar. The first one, you want to go to the next one, John, to the short-term funds? Okay, so now I'm making the assumption that you have done your savings plan, that's that 100-year thing, and you've done your monthly model, and you've balanced them so that your net cash flow is 0. Okay? Then if you've done that, you should be able to see how much savings you need short term, and on your screen it should actually tell you your number that was on your savings plan. Do you see where that is on your screen? It's off to the right. You see that number? That should be your number from the plan. Or it's up in the top. On this one, it's up in the top. See the 55 and the 100? It's also on the side. It's on both sides. So whatever your number on your savings plan was, it figured out short term how much you need to invest. And so for short term, your options are small. There's not a lot of options short term. If you need the money now, there's not a lot of investment options. You really just get CDs at the bank, and CDs are not this mystique thing. You just go to the bank and say you want to buy a CD, and they electronically basically take your money, and then they give you this electronic thing that says, and sometimes they print a sheet of paper that says, certificate, but you can just then, see it online, and see, it basically becomes just like a checking account almost. But the catch with a CD is it's for a term, and the term might be 12 months or 24 months or 36 months or 60 months, and you can't get your money back unless you want to lose money. So you have to lock it away for that period of time. But on the savings spreadsheet, you said that you didn't need it for a year, and if you're truthful, you could go buy a CD for 12 months or for 24 months or 36 months, whichever one of those short-term things was, and it's at the bottom of your summary screen for your savings of how much you needed for each of those months, each of those years. And then you just go to the bank and say, I need $2,400 in short-term, and I need $1,000 in with a 2-year term, and $500 with a 3-year term, and they'll just fix you right up. There's no fees involved. They'll just take your cash and give you a CD, and you'll start earning that interest, whatever that is. But it's usually around, if you shop it around, and just like you shop on loans, you shop on investments, okay? And if you find the right bank, you'll get about 1%, okay? And that's what the planning model used, was a 1% for short-term loans. Does that sort of make sense? Okay, and so the way this thing works is you see the total money needed is $1,000. So in this model, on the savings plan over there in the short term, it needed $1,000. So step one, you basically have to look at that savings spreadsheet and figure out how much you need in year 1 and year 2 and year 3. That's considered short-term investing, is up to 3 years. And once you get into 4, it's starting to get midterm, okay? And then you figure, so then and you can either get a savings bond with that maturity date, or you can get a CD. Those are really your only legitimate options. Another option that this is like hokey is there might be someone that has an equity line of credit that they've bought a second mortgage on or with their house, and they might have paid, it could be your parents, they might have a loan out on their house with an equity line of credit. If they have an equity line of credit, they may loan you money, they may take your money, pay off their equity line of credit, and then just give you the interest rate that they're getting on their loan. So their loan might be a 4% loan. You might be able to get from 1% to 4% on that short term. I don't know if that made sense or not. But you can barter with other people that might have money to try to do better. But legitimate ways at banks or the savings bonds, those are really your only official options, other than a personal loan with somebody. Does that make sense? Sort of? I can't tell if that's really, okay, that's really a yes? Okay. Okay, so, what you make in earnings, you're going to have to pay tax on. So even though it's 1%, IRS is going to be knocking at your door. That's called taxable earnings. And there's no exemptions, there's no catch. You make an interest, and basically, that's your money, and then but it's considered income, and you have to pay tax on it. Come down a little bit further, John. What's step 3 say? Okay. So I'm going to talk about this bottom section. This bottom section is in the next 2 charts you see, but I put it in all the charts to make it consistent. Okay, so do you see where it says don't want to think? Okay, don't want to think just says, I just want to do it one time and I don't want to think about it anymore. I don't like this stuff, okay? And so it says put 100%, see that 100%? Just put 100% of what you have up in CDs. Go straight up on that arrow. See, it says a little bit higher right there. So it says put 100% of your cash in CDs and U.S. savings bonds and don't think about it. Just do that one transaction and once and done. However, if you want to be risky, okay, because some people younger usually are riskier, and as you gain decades, you become less riskier, okay? But if you wanted to be more risky, and this is more risky, okay? And remember, we just talked about risk. You got to be in the right day, right month, right fund kind of thing. You could put 50% of your cash. See the next line under higher risk? It says 50% under cash, right there, in CDs. And then another 50% under a blended mutual fund. Okay? That means you're entering the stock market, which means the money might not be there. However, it could really mean that there's more there. And so it's sort of like, do you feel lucky? Okay? And so if you wanted to take a riskier position, which means you don't absolutely have to buy that laptop 2 years from now, it's in your short-term plan, you could make it 3, or you could buy something less. And if there's maneuverability in those years 2 and 3, you might want to take a little bit more risk on your short-term cash. And if you wanted to take more risk, you could just put 50% of it in under a blended mutual fund. See that other 50%, John, off to the right there, and put in 50% or 25% or some number in a blended mutual fund. And those letters above it, WFIVX and VTTSX, see those? And FFNOX, see those 3? Those are the names of 3 different types of blended funds. There are many blended funds. I'm just trying to get you started with some, and I'm not saying those are the winners, okay? Those are just some blended funds, and if you just were at Yahoo or Google, you put in those letters, the fund will come up, and then you can read about it. But what a blended fund is, the reason I say blended, and I'm going to use that a lot tonight because I think that's the best way to get started in investments. A blended fund, and remember I said mutual funds had to have a definition, and by law, if they go out of that definition, they go to jail, okay? A blended fund says, I want to be in every big company, medium-sized company, small-sized company, little bit international company, and I want to be in the energy industry, the transportation industry, the real estate industry, the insurance industry. So it's like in all the industries, all the different size companies, and so it's this whole diversification that mimics the whole stock market. And the more you can mimic the whole stock market, the more you'll make the blended average of what goes on. Does that make sense? And so it cuts a lot of the risk down because it's very diversified. So there's still risk. So I am not saying there's not risk. You still have the day risk, the fund risk, and all that other stuff. But it cuts down a lot of the guessing of what product do I buy to get in it. The first one, the WFIVX, that's called the Wilshire 5000 Index Fund. And so it picks the top 5,000 stocks in the market and puts a little bit in all of them, okay? And so you're basically in all just a mess of stocks. And so because you're in a mess of stocks, if one company goes bad, there's one that's doing good, and they sort of, so the blended just means it's blending out your risk, but you still have risk, okay? But at least you don't have a diversification risk of only buying large companies, and small companies are the ones that have made 30%. So this year, the small companies, I actually think the mid-sized companies made like 30-some% this year so far. The small companies made 25, and the big ones made 20. So depending on which size companies you invested in, you had different return answers this year. But when you're diversified, it takes a little bit in proportion to all of them, and so the blended won't get you the 30 or the 25 or the 20, but it'll get you an average that's very acceptable. given what the market's doing. Does that make sense? And so this would be risky in a short-term thing to do this. So the no-brainer, I don't want to think you put 100% right to CDs or savings bonds. You'll get your 1%. Leave it there until it comes due, and then when it comes due, you go to the bank and they'll give you a check for $1,100, or whatever percent interest, the 1% made, and they'll give you that check, and then you just buy whatever you had on your plan. Okay, that's the way you would do it. And it's just as easy as taking money out of your checking account. It's easy. And you can get it sooner, but you'll pay an ugly penalty that will just slap you in the head. All right? But when you finish that term of 12 months or 24, the CD you can just go to the bank and just get all your money and just go take it. Take and go. Has anyone done a CD before? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. All right, so now if you did the risky strategy where you put some in CDs, but some in a blended mutual fund, then what you do is a timing thing. You look for when that blended fund in the next year before you need the money, whenever it's doing real well, whenever it starts to do well, take it out. Don't wait till the end to take it out. You just watch the blended fund. So the risky means you have to watch what's going on. So let's say that I needed $3,000 3 years from now. I put in $2,500 and I'm hoping for a good return as a risk. I did the riskier piece option. And all of a sudden, next month, the market just went crazy, and all of a sudden I made $3,100. Okay, I only needed $3,000. Okay? Don't be greedy. Cash in your blended and put it in cash and get out of the market. And greed is amazing. You may not think you're greedy, but when you just made $3,100 by sitting on your butt going to work, it's just like, whoa! And then you just want to leave it in there to make more, okay? That would be a mistake, okay? Because the market goes, how many days did it make money? Only 40. How many days did it lose money? 320, okay? So if there's a day that it makes your goal under short-term investing, take it out. Once you make your goal, take it out. Get out of there, okay? Okay, so short term, that's what we're doing. Now we're going to go to a very similar looking screen, but now we're going to talk about midterm investment.